inauguration ceremony for the Providence Municipal Courtroom in honor of someone who has dedicated his life to public service. There are, as is fitting, a large number of people from around the state who have come to share this honor. So I would like to thank Governor McKee for being here, Mayor Smiley, Speaker Sicarci, Ambassador Paolino, Attorney General Nerona, the Mayor of North Providence, Charles Lombardi, the Mayor of Cranston, Ken Hopkins, Lieutenant Governor Sabina Matos, former Court Administrator Patrick Butler, our current Court Administrator Elizabeth Bettis, our two municipal court judges, the Honorable Judge McKiernan and the Honorable Judge Vanessa Crum, thank you for joining us. Our Chief of Police, Oscar Perez, our former Chief, Hugh Clements, is here with us. Yeah. And please forgive me if I'm missing anyone. And of course, I'd like to thank my current and former colleagues on the Providence City Council who are here, many of whom are right here to my right. We have Councilwoman Harris, Councilman Espinal, Councilman Sanchez, Councilor Oscar Vargas, Councilwoman Anna Vargas. We have Majority Leader Taylor behind me. I saw earlier this morning Councilman Correa. I saw Councilwoman Peterson and Councilman Igliosi. And I hope that others, Councilman Salvatore, I hope that others will continue to recognize anyone I've missed. Please forgive me. But it is fitting, right, that we have such a group of leaders and people who are from across the state and in the city of Providence here this morning. Chief Judge Caprio is a true son of Providence. He was born here in Federal Hill and graduated from Central High School. He served the 876th Combat Engineer Battalion in the National Guard and was then elected to the Providence City Council, Lucky Ward 13. The judge served as a delegate to 5 Democratic National Conventions. He served as the chairman of the Rhode Island Board of Governors for Higher Education and served as the Providence Municipal Court Judge since 1985, earning reappointments 6 times over the course of his career. In his capacity as Chief Judge of the Providence Municipal Court, Judge Caprio presided over the court with grace and wit, recognizing the humanity of everyone who came before the court.
Say that again, please.
And often giving people the opportunity to make amends with no harm nor foul. Coming to court is usually not a good day, right, for folks. With the Chief's leadership, he made it memorable. He made it one that people really felt respected and heard. And for that and for all of his service over the course of his career, Chief, thank you for your service. Congratulations on this honor. It's well deserved.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. This is really exciting to be here with the judge. I mean, how many people do you know that's been viewed on Instagram, Facebook, this film, YouTube, everything, 7 billion times? Judge Caprio. You know, I think Taylor Swift has got a problem with social media because he's got 22 million followers on Instagram and Facebook. That's not too shabby. Now, I got to tell you how it all started. This started back in 1985-86. Now, Mayor Smiley and Council President, I was fortunate. I was a city councilman in Providence. And quite frankly, my best friends when I started out in politics were my brothers and sisters on the city council. We had a good kinship with each other. We always communicated, and when I became the mayor of Providence, I don't think we ever had a vote that was less than 15-0. I mean that. We never had any divisions, although Ed Aldo, you did vote against me once. But we had great friendships, and I'm going to tell you something. Those friendships continue today, and every year I always get together with my old colleagues in the city council. I think it's very important to let that go. Now, here's what happened. I'm the mayor. I get a phone call. They told me that a municipal court judge had just passed away. I said, don't tell anybody. Why? Just don't tell anybody. Now, you gotta realize, the mayor doesn't appoint the judges, it's the city council. So I had to move really fast because I didn't want Buddy Johnson to elect somebody else. So what I did was I called my dearest friend, Mark Weiner. I said, where's Frank? The only name that came to my head was Frank Caprio. He said, he's at the Aurora Club at Dickie Oster. So I said, meet me there right now. Now, at those days, Frank, you were working at the redevelopment agency in a position that paid more money than the municipal court judgeship. And I said, I want you to take this. He said, but he was a councilman, he knows. He said, you don't appoint the person, the city council does. I know, we're gonna get the votes tonight. We went to my house, went into the basement, Dickie Yassa, Mark Weiner, and myself, and Judge Caprio, and I called every city councilman, and he got elected with a 15-0 vote on the court. Now that was back in what, 1985? 1985. And the city council had the wisdom to do that. But I'm gonna tell some more stories, but I'm gonna try to move this along a little bit for everybody. I wanna introduce to everybody right now a man who's our governor, a wonderful person, good friend of the Caprio family, Governor Dan McKee.
Thank you, Mayor, and it is great to be here at the Public Safety Building. I do recall another really important moment when I was back here when we did the John Poddington Way, right? You know, Cumberland guy and, you know, a real outstanding individual. But today we're here to really recognize one of the very best people from Rhode Island. Someone who has not only Providence roots, but clearly Rhode Island in mind every time that he speaks, anytime that he represents our state on a national or international level. I was just talking to his son, Frank, talking about a trip to Dubai, and they know him there. They know him on the streets of Dubai. So to be here today to recognize and to really speak about a national treasure, Judge Caprio, a national treasure. One that has really included, a guy from Cumberland that wasn't even a governor at the time, a lieutenant governor, just a mayor. Oh, I think you are mayors here today, right? Mayor Lombardi, Mayor Hopkins, Mayor Smiley. But at his son's house, watching a Patriot game, he really embraced this entire state, and that's why people love him so much, right? That's why we love him so much. So I want to just say, you know, Mayor Paolino just mentioned about 1985 and how this all began. I mean, you all, everybody that's here today, what an unbelievable crowd and coming out to honor our judge, you know, our Rhode Island judge. To come out, you all have those stories as well, just like I do, just like I have those stories of when the Emmy was awarded and he turned his son's house into Hollywood. Was anybody at that event? I was there. And I would think that most people in this room knew about that. But that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about the very best of Rhode Island. And as we work with the speaker, Sakachi's here today, when we work with everyone, we're looking to really make sure that people understand that this state is a great place to live in. And the reason it's a great place to live in is we have people who really care about our state, and no one cares about our state more than Judge Francis Caprio. So I want to just say thank you to the judge. I would say one last thing. I just heard about how many, your influence. You know, you're an influencer, you know, before your time. Now we hear about all the young people, they want to be influencers. This guy is an influencer, so we're going to be drafting you in your spare time to make sure that as we talk about young people, and he's had such an influence over young people in the state of Rhode Island, we want our kids in school. That's our biggest mantra right now, attendance. Let's make sure that our kids are in school, and we're gonna have to grab the judge for a little cameo as we try to put posters up and the videos in our AMP Center, which has a new roof, by the way. It's not gonna be leaking this year, Mayor, so we're gonna be happy about that. Yeah, Judge, you are today you're being recognized for a lifetime of work. We're so proud of you. And we're just so proud of you. So congratulations, Judge Caprio. It goes without saying you're more than deserving of this honor. And on behalf of the people of the state of Rhode Island, I get to come to these events and speak up for the people of the state of Rhode Island as our governor, as the governor. They say thank you to as well. I have a small memo here for you that I'd like to have you just creep up here. You don't have to come up on stage yet. I'm sure you'll have your moment. But just from the state of Rhode Island, from the state of Rhode Island, from the people of the state of Rhode Island, recognizing the Honorable Frank Caprio. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here today. That's great. Judge, we'll give this to
Governor, thank you. But I want to read something to you, Governor, because this came on a message to the judge. It said, and it's a message really for you, Governor. And this came in. This is true. The governor, this is a fellow, Carmen Falcone. The governor of Rhode Island should initiate and knight Judge Caprio into Sir Frank Caprio, as well as the name a city street in his name. Vinton Street would be a good idea, by the way. And ignite him into the Hall of Fame scholars. He's a true scholar, with distinguished values and virtues of dignity, integrity, virtuous, and an extraordinary man of elite stature in the state of Rhode Island. I am grateful for Judge Caprio, and I appreciate his outstanding services that he's given to our communities. I also want to thank you for choosing me as a committed fan to your prestigious television show. God bless you, Sir Francesco Caprio. May God give you health and long life with your beautiful family, Carmen Falcone. Not too shabby, right? We have, I think, an extraordinary person sitting in City Hall today in the mayor's office. I'm so fond and thankful that the people of my favorite city made him the mayor of the city of Providence. Ladies and gentlemen, the mayor of Providence, Brett Smiley.
Thank you, Mayor Paolino, and good afternoon, everybody. This is a dangerous thing in that we have a room full of dignitaries and probably half of you are current or formerly elected officials. I wanted to just recognize a couple other people who my friend, the council president, hadn't recognized just yet. One of my colleague mayors here, who's also part of the Caprio extended family, Mayor Zycom Zavorvong from Newport, is here. Our next congressman, Gabe Amo, is here. And Councilman Pichardo and Shelley Peterson are also here. I don't have the gift of storytelling that Mayor Paolino has. However, I do have a short story. In January of this year, newly elected, full of confidence, go down to the U.S. Conference of Mayors meetings for the first time as a newly elected mayor, very excited. Walking through the hotel at the Washington Hilton, somebody comes up for me, they see Providence, Rhode Island on my name tag. And they said, "Oh, you're from Providence." And I'm getting all puffed up, waiting for him to say, "Are you the new mayor?" I said, "Do you know Judge Caprio?" And I said, yes. I said, "Oh, God, that must be so great to know him." So, no interest in who I was. And no care that it said mayor in big letters on my name badge. All that mattered was that I knew Judge Frank Caprio. And I was, in fact, proud to say, yes, I do, because there are few people in the world, truly in the world today, that have done more to put Providence on the map than Judge Frank Caprio. And that is remarkable. We love our city for so many reasons, but if I hear one more time, Providence is a hidden gem. I don't want it to be a hidden gem. I want it to be a well-known gem. And Judge Frank Caprio has put us on the map, and we are grateful for that. For decades, he has been a beacon of fairness, ensuring that the scales of justice are balanced for all. Beyond the bench, his compassion and understanding and genuine concern for the well-being of our residents has made him a positive example of kindness. at a time and in a world where a little bit of kindness could go a long way right now. He's consistently demonstrated that justice doesn't always mean punishment. It means understanding, empathy, and finding a way to uplift people who need it most. And today, and for every day forward, the Caprio Courthouse now, or the courtroom, will serve as a symbol of the city's commitment to upholding those values that he brought to the world. So on behalf of the people of Providence, I extend our deepest gratitude and congratulations to the judge. Today's dedication is a small token of our appreciation for everything that you have done for our community, and we are so honored to be able to name the Caprio Courtroom in your honor. Thank you, Judge Caprio, for everything you've done. And this took a lot of work to make this happen, but there was one true champion that brought today into fruition, which is the Majority Leader of the Providence City Council, Majority Leader Jim Taylor. Councilman Taylor not only is an incredible advocate for his neighborhood and a friend, but is someone who, once he gets his teeth into something, doesn't let go of it. And so when he says he's going to get something done, it gets done. And this would not have gotten done without Jim Taylor. So thank you, Jim, for making it happen.
Mayor, thank you. Now, the mayor talked about when he travels, people want to talk about Judge Caprio. Well, let me read you another note. Hi, dear Judge Frank Caprio. My name is Selma. I am from Peru. I'm a teacher. I follow you because before being a teacher, I wanted to be a lawyer, and you would definitely have been my role model. I thank God, or whoever you believe, for having brought you to Mother Earth, because I am pretty sure that if we are living in this planet at this time is because there's a purpose for us. God bless you. I do hope to meet you one day if I travel to the United States. So far, I will continue seeing you online, having fun sometimes and crying others. By the way, tears of happiness. I don't forget the baby who has your name. I love it. With deepest respect, I feel that you are the father I never had. Take care. But now I have to tell you that I'm a little sore, all right? Because everybody knows that when I left Providence back in the 90s, I went to Malta. Now that's 6,000 miles away. And so I know everybody in Malta. They did a poll once who the president was, and I came in third. So, it's true. So every time a friend of mine wants to go to Malta, they call me. What hotel, what restaurant? I haven't been there in 25 years. But I tell them to go to San Giuliano restaurant, this is the hotel you stay in, so on and so forth. So some friends went there, and they were there 3 weeks ago. And they go to San Giuliano restaurant, where I told them, I said, here's the owner, he's my dear friend. And so he's there, so the waiter goes up to him, he says, oh, Mr. Laramie, so where are you from in America? He said, Providence, Rhode Island. He said, Providence, Rhode Island. So now John said, no, he's going to talk about Joe. He says, do you know Judge Caprio? And so the guy writes a note. Dear Judge Caprio, stay healthy and may God bless you. Yours sincerely, Angel from Malta, April 10th, 2023. Here's my telephone number, here's my email. Email this guy, you'll give him a new life. and tell him I live in Providence too. Now, a good friend of all of ours, Jim Taylor, is really he's just a ball of fire in every positive way you can think. He's a wonderful person. He's a great majority leader in the city council, a good friend, and I want to thank you for making this happen for all of us today. Jim Taylor, the councilman from the 8th Ward.
With the new Tesla dealership going in, thanks to Mayor Paolino.
Remember, you're my councilman, Jim Taylor.
I will. Let me put my glasses on so I can read here. So I would like to welcome everyone to this special occasion today. Thank you all for coming. All of you. There's a big crowd here. Judge, look at the crowd you got here. I would like to thank my council colleagues for co-sponsoring and voting for this resolution that I put in this past January, for renaming the courtroom after Chief Judge Frank Caprio.
Yeah.
This was one of the easiest resolutions that I put in thus far as a councilman. I would also like to thank Council President Rachel Miller for swearing the judge in as Chief Judge Emeritus a few weeks ago, as that was also part of the resolution. I would like to thank the Mayor Brett Smiley and his staff for making today's event possible. In addition, I would like to thank Anthony Alves from Public Property and the Bonnell family from Federal Signs for installing the beautiful plaque and letters that we will all see in just a moment. Chief Judge Frank Caprio has served as Providence Municipal Court Judge since 1985. Before that, he was a city councilman for 8 years from 1962 to 1970. He is known throughout the United States and worldwide to his highly rated and nationally syndicated television show, Court in Providence. Chief Judge Frank Caprio is also an internet superstar who has surpassed more than 20 million followers across social media, while his videos have accrued over 7 billion views globally. People have called Chief Judge Frank Caprio compassionate, sincere, kind, empathetic, and humble. I personally call him a legend. But as today's generation would say, he's a GOAT, meaning greatest of all time. He is in the same category as Babe Ruth, Michael Jordan, and Tom Brady. Now I would like to share a quick story with everyone. My wife is here, Muncie, she can attest to this. This past summer, I went to Maryland to watch the Orioles and Astros game, to specifically root for another local hero that I coached back in the day, Jeremy Pena. On an Uber ride back to the airport, I had a driver named Sam. As I always do, I made small talk with him. I found out that Sam was from Nigeria and that he loved and appreciated the United States. He went on to tell me that he thought that the U.S. was the land of opportunity, as him and his family moved here from Nigeria. He later went on to say that he became a U.S. citizen, learned new languages, got a college degree, bought his own house, and even raised a family here. He then went on to ask where I was from and what I do for a living, to which I responded with, I am from Providence, Rhode Island, and I'm a retired firefighter and a current city councilman. Sam then said, Providence? Me and my family, both here and in Nigeria, watch Court in Providence every Saturday morning. Do you know Judge Caprio? Then he went on to talk about his admiration and love for Judge Caprio and started reiterating to me different episodes that he had watched. While he was talking about this with joy, I called Judge Caprio on his cell phone, to which he answered, and then I handed the phone over to my new friend, Sam. While I was sitting in the back watching them converse over the phone, I could sense the excitement and see the tears of joy coming from Sam. And on the other end, because it was on speakerphone, I could hear Judge Caprio's gratitude and appreciation for Sam and his family back in Nigeria for supporting his show. Once I got to my location, Sam got out and gave me a big hug and was very thankful for the phone call and noted that this is why he believes America is the land of opportunity, as he got to speak to his hero and couldn't wait to tell his family all about it. I know we all have a similar Sam story, and this is why we are all here today. So from all of us, Chief Judge Frank Caprio, thank you for being you.
Bravo.
When somebody says thank you for being you, he doesn't get any better than that. Here's another note. Greetings to you, dear sir. I am from Iraq. Wait a minute. Do you speak Arab? How do they do that? They do? Okay. All right. I'm from Iraq, where social justice is missing and where great injustice to the segment of the poor and where the law applies only to the weak. The teachings of our religion say that God enjoins justice, fairness, and judgment among people in all their social positions with justice. equality, and arbitration of conscience before the law. But in my country, this does not exist. But I saw justice, conscience, and fairness in all of your cases. And I wanted to thank you for reminding me that there is a just judge. It's pretty nice. I want to talk a few minutes about this man, about how I met him, and I don't even know if you know where we met. One of my dearest friends is not with us today. His family is here, Mark Weiner, and everybody knows Mark and I grew up together. And I wanted to get into politics. I wanted to run for either state senator or city councilman or door catcher or anything I could. And I moved to Federal Hill. And he says, you got to meet Frank Caprio. We met at John O'Neill's office on a Saturday on Steeple Street. Now, he knew my mom. The DePasquales were from Federal Hill. The Paulinos were from Federal Street. And so they knew families. And I think my dad and he were members of the Aurora Club. They knew each other. But I didn't know him. And that day, I ended up probably the age of 16 or 17, never realizing for over 50 years, I would have a person that would be a mentor to me, that would help form my life. And I'm not just saying that in words. He coached me when I wanted to run for office, and he convinced me not to. That was for the state senate against Vinnie Beccari. And then when the city council seat came available, he said, this is your time. In between that, he introduced me to another dear friend of mine, a mentor, Tom DiLulio, who was running for lieutenant governor. Now in those days, lieutenant governor, how big's your staff? 7. They had 1.5. In 1976, they had 2 people, administrative assistant, and they had a secretary. I was going to college. Frank thought I would be the right guy to be the administrative assistant for Tom. And he said, they went to Miami together, I think, on a vacation. They talked about what they were going to be doing. Frank called me, said, come to Miami, the job is going to be yours, come down here. And I went down and I got offered the job. But he put a condition on me. I had to continue going to school. I had to go to college, I wanted to quit. But he wouldn't let me. He says, I'm only going to help you get this job if you continue your education, which I did. So then I run for city council. He was there with me. The whole Caprio gang was with me, and all of you were here today when I ran. And then I became the mayor of Providence. And there were many times, many meetings, many tough decisions I had to make, politically, good or bad. He was always there advising me. And he's always advised me in my own personal life. There are many times, stories that I won't tell you. Recently, it's just a few years ago, where I'd go to his house on Vinton Street and sit with him, and he would counsel me. Now, what's funny is that my daughter, Jackie, got married, and she wanted Judge Caprio, and her husband is from out of town. And his relatives could not believe that Judge Caprio was going to marry them. So we had more people at the wedding than we expected because they wanted to meet Judge Caprio. So he's been a mentor to so many people. He's helped us all. He's made Providence, Rhode Island, I've said it over and over again years ago, I say it again, we are America's best city, and quite frankly, we're America's best city because of people like Frank Caprio, and it is Frank Caprio. He's Providence's greatest citizen. Ladies and gentlemen, the judge, court in Providence, Judge Frank Caprio.
Thank you so much, Mayor Piolino. This is a very humbling experience. To hear all of these accolades from the governor, mayors, good friends, is really heart-wrenching to me. And so, while I'm sitting here, my mind is wandering, saying, like, how did all this happen? So if I were asked to describe myself, like my inner being and whatever successes that I may have attained in life, I would have to say they come from the family. I would preach before a municipal court when young people would come in and when the families would come in. Preach that the basic unit of society is the family unit. Family unit. I was so blessed that my father was one of 10 and my mother was one of 9. And so I had 19 aunts and uncles, and I had over 40 cousins. Only about 6 are still living. I'm looking at one right there, Anthony. There are others I can't see. But it was their inspiration and their guidance and their hard work that really inspired me. When I was first elected to the city council in 1985, some 38 years ago, I will never forget my first day on the court. My dad, who was born in Italy, had a 7th grade education, came to this country with no money. But between he and my mom, they were so dedicated to the family that they taught us by example. And he was probably one of the most decent men I ever met in my life. So on my first day in court, my father was so proud. His son was now a judge. So he came to my first day in court. And he sat there. It was at the old police station. And a woman came before me, and she was obstinate, and she was insulting, and she was rude, and she was telling me that she had 3 kids, and she didn't have any money, and she couldn't afford to pay this fine, and she wasn't going to pay, and then she told me a few other things that were very unpleasant. So I decided that I certainly wasn't going to stop my judicial career by taking this. So I fined her the full fine. I didn't mitigate the fine at all. And then I finished that court session. I was so proud. I went back to my chambers, and my dad came in. Well, Dad, how did I do? And he looked at me. He said, Frank, that woman. I said, what woman? The woman that had the kids. The one you fined. I said, Dad, she was so disrespectful. He said, she was scared. She was in the courtroom. There's you with a robe. You got a cop there with a gun. You got all the trappings of strength and power. She just was frightened to death. She didn't know how to articulate that, Frank. How could you do that? She has kids. Maybe she can't feed those kids tonight. I can still see the look in his face. And he went on telling me that that wasn't the way I was brought up. Those weren't the examples that he and my mother set. That was the last time that happened in my court. I had the privilege of sitting on the court for 38 years. I loved every minute of it, and I miss it. It was a wonderful experience. Probably the best part of the experience was meeting people out of the country, immigrants who came here. Many of them had the same experience as my father had and my mom. And I was able to relate to those because my father would always tell me about his experiences. And not only that, but last year my entire family and I went down to where my dad was born in Teano, and we visited his birth site. He was born in what I can best describe as a cave with a dirt floor. And I think his next door neighbor, who lived exactly the same, was the Forster family, Richard Forster's relatives, who were neighbors of my family in Teano. And that's where he started. I have to tell you this story. It has nothing to do with anything, but while we were there, I decided that I would go to the town hall and I would check my father's birth certificate. It was in Italian and we had it translated. And the birth certificate read as follows. The constable at the town hall was in charge of registering births, and I guess the procedure was if a child was born, they carried the child to the town hall the next day to register its birth. And they registered my father's birth in the following manner. The constable, on the birth certificate, said, I, his name, Constable of Taiano, hereby certify that on this date appeared before me Antonio Caprio, my grandfather, with his baby, Antonio Caprio, and 2 witnesses. And then the birth certificate, the last paragraph, last sentence, he said, and I hereby certify that I have signed, the constable, I have signed for the father and the 2 witnesses, because the 3 of them were illiterate. And that's how my dad started. Well, you know, I would preach to young people who came before the court, who came from other countries, and I would tell them, it's not where you stop. It's not where you start. You have no control over that. It's where you finish. So don't ever give up. Set your sights high. And I would implore all the parents and young people who came before the court, stay in school. As a matter of fact, you may know that on occasion, on several occasions, in the courtroom, I would invite youngsters up to the bench to ask them to help me decide this case because it is so difficult. The reason for that was that the courtroom is such an intimidating experience. And just imagine if I treated the parents with disrespect, if I yelled at them and admonished them for a traffic violation. I could probably traumatize that child toward the institutions of government, maybe for the rest of their life. On the contrary, I would ask them to help me solve the case. I shouldn't say this because the mayor probably is going to check the budget. And I would say, what do you think I should do with this case? And it was interesting, some of their answers. It was wonderful. It was just a wonderful experience to advance good relations between the institutions of government and other people. So it is with that background that I served on the court. The influences of my mom, influences of my father, his decency. My mother gave new meaning to the saying, feed the hungry. She not only fed the hungry, she fed you if you had a full stomach and you had to eat it. It was the first thing she did. I want to, before I finish, I want to make sure I recognize former judges that I sat with. I see Judge Giannini is here, and Judge Abadi is also here. And I want you honor me by being here. Thank you for coming. And Joe, I appreciate that. And Luisa Bortolotti, Judge Bortolotti, and I think I already mentioned Judge Crumble, you mentioned, and Dan McKinnon. I am really very appreciative by your attendance today. I had the privilege, while sitting on the court, to encounter and have people before me from all parts of the world. All parts of the world. And it was through them that I learned a great deal. I heard their stories, and the one thing that they all talked about was their families and their hope for the future. And all of them about the greatness of the United States of America and what it meant to them and how they owed so much to this country. It just made me feel real good about their thoughts. But hearing their stories opened my own heart and my own mind to know that they showed me by their thoughts and by their journey that we all love, we all suffer, we all work hard, we all fail, but if we persevere, we can all succeed in this country, regardless what side of the bench that we're on. Now, I had some very interesting people coming before my court, and one of them is seated right here to my left and to your right. Because I had this gentleman come before the court, and I asked him how he pled that he was speeding. And he growled at me and says, "I don't speed, Judge. I was taking my son to the doctor." I said, "You were? How old is your son?" He said, 67. I said, "How old are you?" He said, "I'm 97. And that was 3 years ago. And he's become one of my best friends. Victor, stand up. Victor has become part of our extended family. He recently turned 100. And we surprised Victor with a birthday party at his home, big cake, and he rewarded me by baking me the best apple pie I ever had in my life, Victor. Many times, women who would come before the court would obviously be pregnant, and I would always ask them whether they knew if they were having a boy or a girl. And if they said they were having a boy, I would say, you know, the new rage of names in this country for boys is going to be Francesco. And they give me the same response you did. They laughed, because Francesco is my name. And so I say, you should consider naming the baby Francesco. And they laugh and so forth. Well, you know, it's interesting that some people actually did name the baby Francesco. As a matter of fact, Junie Fed is here. Junie, where are you? Come on up here. Thank you for coming up. Thank you. And this is Francesco. He's very modest. Unlike his namesake. Thank you so much. Thank you. I can tell you that I receive notices occasionally of babies that have been named Francesco. And the last one was last week, and it was from Pakistan. So the poor kid, imagine having the name Francesco in Pakistan. I'm not sure if they gave him a middle name, Caprio, but... Anyway, I talked earlier about the significance of family. I can tell you if there's anything that has defined me or any of the successes that I had, it's because of the loving family that I was privileged to be born into, and my extended family as well. I have here today all my children, my grandchildren. See Ashley, Bakari right there, my grandchildren. I can't see the rest of them, but they're all here. And they're waving their hands back there, okay. So It's a very emotional thing for me to say goodbye to this court. I enjoyed every minute of it. I tried my best. I thought I'd brought some delight to people who appeared before me. I hope I brought some credit to the court and to the city of Providence. I can't tell you how happy I am for this event. Thank you for inviting
Ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of our ceremonies. We have beautiful refreshments. Well, maybe, oh, I want to eat first. Now we're going to have the judge pull the plaque. Right here.